the microphone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to see you all today. And thank you once again, Dr. Tracy, because you have just returned from your conference in Aruba. I could see you are still tired. And thank you for finding time to come to talk to us this morning. After attaining an undergraduate degree in medical technology at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., she proceeded to medical studies at the University of the West Indies. She began her clinical career at the Freeman Hospital, Newcastle upon Tyne. But after several years in hospital practice, she decided to branch out into the field of pharmaceutical medicine. This is a poorly understood medical specialty by doctors and lay persons alike. However, it exposes a clinician to evidence-based practice, population health issues, and most importantly, the cost issues in delivering quality care. Dr. Kananat Hakins held increasingly senior roles in the industry and moving eventually to Paris, France, and thereafter gaining a master's in public health. She has relocated to Montserrat with her husband, Mr. Veani Kananat Hakins, and their two pampered pups called Betty Boop and Buddha. Please welcome the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Tracy Kananat Hakins.
Which mic is active? They go from the active. Yeah, please. Is that better? Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much all for coming. I'm quite surprised that so many people have turned up just to listen to me. I'm quite impressed by that. Thank you. I'm very humbled by it. First of all, yes, my name is indeed Tracy Kiernan Huggins, and everyone struggles with that. My husband is the bringer of the Kiernan, and I'm the bringer of the Huggins. A few years, well, last year, in the midst of the passion of young love, we decided that we would join our names legally once we got married. And so at our wedding ceremony, we signed on legal declarations to be called Kiernan Huggins. So we're now both Kiernan Huggins, which was fine. And once all the wedding bells had rung and the champagne had been drunk, we woke up to the realization that our children would be able to vote before they could spell their own last names. But there you go, we've done it and we're very happy to do so. I'm very happy to have my husband with me. So, I've been asked today to talk about basically the hospital, but generally healthcare across Montserrat. And the first thing I'm going to say, and I have said this at every other talk that I've done, and so other people who have seen me will have heard the same thing. I am not here to bash Montserrat's healthcare system. And anyone who is here to do so, you will be sorely disappointed. I will not encourage it. And I will not encourage it for this reason. Montserrat went through two huge disasters. And in the post-disaster period, where you see natural disasters all over the world, people died of infections, people died of poor sanitation, people really struggled and suffered. And in Montserrat, the healthcare system here kept this country going. Yeah. It did indeed. And the ladies and gentlemen who kept it going, many of them are still there, working under very difficult conditions. But it's for us to support them in their daily activities by encouraging them to be better and not downcry the system. Because the system is a good one. It's kept us going, it's kept us healthy. And people say, well, a lot of people left Montserrat and that's why it was okay. Think of the people who were left behind. They were the older people. We've got a lot of diabetics, hypertensives. These people could have succumbed to all kinds of infections, and they didn't. So, Montserrat, I am very, very proud to work here because this is an excellent country.
Thank you.
So, I don't see anyone leaving, so obviously the healthcare system bashers are not here. I see there are a few empty seats, so they must have heard that I was coming and didn't show. So, I think what people want to know is about the new hospital. And this picture, I really love this picture. I want to apologize to anyone here who is still reliving the disaster of what happened here in Plymouth. But this picture means so much to me because it takes us from what was to what is going to be, and it is such a huge difference that this is a powerful picture. This is the from crisis to concept. And we are at the concept stage now, and this is the crisis stage. And so I don't fear this picture at all. I love this picture because when we see what we're going to have in 2017, this is going to tell a huge story. This is the history of Montserrat. So let me tell you a little bit about the hospital project. I'm going to say I don't like microphones very much, but I will continue. So the Hospital Improvement Project is run by a board, and the board is chaired by the Deputy Financial Secretary, and then various members sit on the board, such as myself, the PS Health, the Director of Hospital Services, etc. Under the board, there are two groups. There's the non-infrastructure and the infrastructure. So the infrastructure group are the people who deal with the mortar and the bricks. That's not my thing. I know about medicine, I know about healthcare, I don't know how to plaster a wall. So I'll give you a little bit of information that I know, but you'll have to have the infrastructure coordinator to come and give you some more details. Then there's the non-infrastructure segment, and the non-infrastructure segment has 7 working streams. And these 7 streams have been identified as the things that we need to address in order to prepare the system to go into the new hospital. And this is the part that I think is even more important than the building. Everyone wants to know, when is the building going to be built? I want to know, when is the system going to be ready for the building that we will have? And that is what the non-infrastructure side of the project does. It gets us ready for the new building. We need to have systems in place. We need to have raised our game. So when we get into that new building, we have a brand new system that's working top-notch so that we give people the right care. The expectation will be there. You have a new hospital, we expect some certain things. We expect a different standard. And so we have to raise our game in order to get ourselves into that new hospital. So the 7 project elements are operational management. This is looking at the resources we employ in terms of manpower and how we employ it. We have lots of staff doing many things, but do we know if the allocation of staff to what we require is the right allocation? Do we know if our structure is correct? Can we flatten that structure? Can we get people working together in different ways in order to deliver? And that is what we're going to be doing under operational management. Now, for operational management, we're going to have a group come in, and we haven't quite decided on the organization yet. But what they will do is come in and do an organizational review for us. And this will not just be limited to the hospital, but across the Ministry of Health. So we need to know what's happening front office, back office, top to bottom, and therefore we can rationalize what our resource requirements are going to be, what we have and what we can redeploy. We need help for that. Because when you're on the inside, it's difficult to make those difficult decisions. It's hard because you're used to what you're used to, but B, you know everyone. And everyone means something special to you as an individual. And I'm not saying everyone shouldn't mean something special, but we have to be brave and redeploy people in a way that's useful. So we have to be brave enough to take people out of their comfort zone, which is what's going to have to be done. We need an external group to do so. So we will be employing an external provider to come in and help us do the tough things, like looking at the systems and trying to make the necessary changes. The other thing that's going to be tough, so I'm going to talk about the two hard things first, is health financing. How are we going to pay for healthcare in the New Montserrat? And you can well imagine that is a difficult one. Unlike many of the systems that we've come from, the UK, the US, the employment base in Montserrat is not big enough to really support a healthcare system to the highest standards that we wanted. So the concept of taxation to pay for healthcare is a tough one to do here. We just don't have the employment base to do so. So how do we get the finances to run the healthcare system? And that is what the health financing team is working on. Several discussions have been had and proposals have gone to cabinet, and the discussions will continue for quite some time, but that's also going to be a tough call. And we have our Director of Hospital Services, Mr. Tarrant Gilchrist, who has got a lot of experience in this kind of thing. He's come out of Grenada via Trinidad, and he will be the gentleman to drive this forward. So watch the space in terms of health financing. Now on to the nicer ones, non-communicable diseases, and I say nicer because they're easier to address. Non-communicable disease, everyone has heard over and over about non-communicable disease in Montserrat. It is a problem, not unique to Montserrat. This is a global problem. It's a global problem due to our change in lifestyles and behaviors. It's a global problem in terms of what we eat and how we maintain our activity levels and what we do for our pleasure. And for Montserrat, it is a great challenge. NCD is a great big challenge for us in several different ways. And so we have to find strategies in order to address the NCD issue, the issues of diabetes, hypertension, largely those two. Looking at from the smallest person to the oldest person. And we have a series of programs, and many of you have seen some of the things that are ongoing. So we have the Great Fitness Week, which people came out and supported in their numbers. It was amazing. But we also have things at the school level. So we've targeted 5 to 6-year-olds. I believe we've done 9 to 10, we're doing 11 to 12. And what we do is get groups of children together for a week during their holiday, and Easter holiday for one group, summer holiday for another. And they basically learn about healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. So it's a summer camp. They're there all day. The dietitian, the health planner, and they've got volunteer teachers who come in and really teach these kids about lifestyle change before they've come into the really bad habits. And it's actually been quite impressive. Does anyone here have children who've been part of the health camp? It's quite impressive because the parents actually walk up to the team members and say, I don't know what you do, but you put me in real trouble. My child wants me to buy pecans and walnuts because nuts are part, there's a day about nuts, and the kids go home and then they're asking for all these expensive things, and the parents are saying, we can't afford walnuts and pecans. But the children are really taking it on board. And it's beautiful to see that actually the teachers themselves are taking a lot of it on board. It's an eye-opener when kids know an apple is red and they can identify an apple, and they know a grape is purple and they can identify a grape, but they don't know what a soursop is when you show them a picture. Things they have growing in their own backyard they cannot recognize. And the teachers this time around said, we didn't even realize this was a problem. So now when we're teaching them green, they get a picture of something green from their backyard so that they understand that the choice is integral to everything that they're thinking about. It's a great program, absolutely great program. We're going to be monitoring it, so the kids are there for a week, and then 6 months down the road we bring them back, we give them a spread, a lovely buffet, and then look at their food choices. They get to choose whatever they want, and they know they have the 5 food groups, and we look at what they've done in terms of their food choices, and we get feedback. So that's one of the projects that we're running for NCDs. I won't go into all the others because there are many others that are coming on stream and will come on stream later on. The other really important area to me and the team that I am leading is the elderly care. Elderly care, as I mentioned before, is very, very important to Montserrat because we do have such an elderly population. And across the, and people are smiling, I'm not calling anyone here elderly, so I'm not speaking about you, I'm presenting to you. Because we have such an older population anyway, and across the world, population is aging, then we expect that care of the elderly is going to become more and more and more important. We have a two-pronged approach to care of the elderly. First thing we want to do is optimize what we're currently doing. So we want to look at the long-term care facilities we have in Montserrat to see if we can improve how the care is delivered in those institutions. We need to look at whether patients and residents have care plans. What's a care plan? Well, they need to have certain things done on a daily basis, not just about cleaning and toileting, but there are things like activities. Are they being mobilized? Are they being stimulated in any way? We need to have all of these in a care plan for each and every resident in our care facilities. We need to get individuals stimulated as best as they can. We need to get elderly people moving instead of sitting in chairs, watching at empty television because it's empty, they can't hear the sound. They're watching the TV and the radio is blaring. We need to get our elderly people stimulated and moving. And that is the number one part, that is the main part of the project for right now. The second part of the project is about moving us from an institutional care model to a community care model. Because what's happening now is we're very focused on the institutional care, and we're not in touch with who's in the community. So there are little groups here and there doing their bit for the community. But collectively, the Ministry of Health is not on top of what is happening in the community. And that's really where elderly care should be going. It should be a community-based model. So the next phase of elderly care is to look at what currently exists in the community, what support services are currently being offered, and then to create some sort of umbrella under which A, we can secure the care of those individuals, but B, we can continue to support the families as well as those individuals in maintaining their elderly in their homes for as long as possible. Evidence shows that is the best way. It's the best way for families, it's the best way for individuals, it is the best way for the community. That's where elderly care is going. And we have a lot of work to do in this regard. It's a challenging one, but we're going to work very, very hard at getting it done. One of the other program elements is equipment maintenance. And there is a whole team. Each of these elements has a working group, so there's a team. And there's a whole team looking at maintenance of our equipment. One of the problems we've had historically, and we are having currently, is that we have equipment sourced either new or donated, but there's no maintenance schedule, no formalized maintenance schedule. And therefore things break down, and we are remiss a little bit in not being able to identify when things need to be serviced. We need to have contractual agreements with the service providers to say, you know, we have this X-ray machine, it's going to need servicing every 6 months. We contract you to service this machine every 6 months. Right now, it's a bit ad hoc. Right now, we're waiting for things to break down, and then we're having it fixed. Little bit tough when you have to think about all the age range of the technology, first of all, and second, once a piece of equipment goes past a certain age, you can't get a company to want to come back and regularly service. They just don't want to do it. The other thing is when you get a donation from somewhere, again, it's come from someone who doesn't need it anymore. It doesn't come with a service agreement. And because we have to rely on this generosity, which we are absolutely happy for, we need to be even more vigilant in our equipment maintenance. So our equipment team has decided on various equipment that we will need moving forward, and we have phased the acquisition of this equipment. So we have the budget for it. We decided that the high priority equipment will be, and actually has been ordered, it's gone to Crown agents to be procured. And these are things that we can use in the hospital right now. These are the things we need right away, and that's gone off. So people are very keen to hear about the ambulance. Well, rest assured, the request has gone off to Crown agents to procure a new ambulance. We've then looked at different waves, things that we don't need right away, but we probably need before we get into the hospital, and then things that we need when we get into the hospital. And with each piece of equipment will be a maintenance schedule to say that we keep on top of what we've procured and that we don't let things break down on us. Another of the streams is emergency preparedness. And I need not say any more about emergency preparedness. It's an absolute necessity, and there's a team working on making sure what we're doing now and our preparations now will be linked with the facilities of the hospital to make sure the system works well once we've moved into the new hospital, to make sure that and it's very, very simple things. So how do we set up a triage area at the hospital? Well, we're going to need a tent. Does the tent